Hello everyone. Hi. Check that mic a little bit. We'll keep this short because this is what they call a graveyard slot, isn't it? At the end of the day, everybody's tired and wants to go home. So we're here to explore AI because I'm a massive AI nerd, and when they asked me about this panel and what I wanted to talk about, I was like, well, blockchain is great, NFTs are great, crypto is awesome, but I want to see how it really looks in the future. Now, we had a previous speaker talking about AI and ChatGPT, so that's going to come up a little bit. So I want to start by asking the both of you. You guys have read the news, you guys have read the stories, AI is more smarter, more powerful than ever. So what do you think are some of the opportunities that AI can bring to Web3? Maybe Nish.
I'm going to test my mic first because I don't want to be yelling. Okay, so thank you for the question. Just to give you guys some background as well on, I think, where we come from, because obviously us giving you our thoughts, I feel like it's important to know. So my name is Nish. I'm the Managing Director at Luna Media Corporation. We're a media house, and we basically have an award-winning PR and marketing agency that works with Web3 and tech. We also own the franchise to Cointelegraph Arabic. We have a small VC and a foundation where we educate women, to graduate school. So that's us in a nutshell. In terms of the opportunities that AI is offering to the metaverse, I feel like this is endless. I mean, on a weekly basis, we get on calls with a couple dozen potential clients, companies that are building projects, and it's really clear to see that all of them are integrating AI in their coding, within their ecosystem, to build characters, to build chat boxes. So it's really interesting to see the way that the AI ecosystem is headed with the metaverse.
Hi everyone, my name is Arvin. Obviously AI is really hip right now, but AI has been around for some time, and it's very interesting that since ChatGPT, now there's a lot more attention to what AI can do for the companies. And just to give you reference of my experience, so you can get a context from where I'm coming from. So I have an NFT incubator. Technically it's a Web3 incubator, but the majority of the projects we work with are NFTs. We have a 78% success rate. We've done a lot of projects in the bear market, bull market, sold out a lot of projects. So, and I've been in the crypto industry since 2016. So I've seen since a lot of industry as well. But I guess more importantly is that when people talk about AI, the first question that comes to mind is, can AI replace humans? And people really would love to, in a sense, I guess managers, because it will just make their job a lot simpler. It will maybe increase productivity. They can save money. So there are a lot of obviously use cases, but it seems like the overarching concept of people learning how to use AI versus people being replaced by AI is the direction that everyone's paying attention to. And so we also, in our company, we started using AI for writing content. Now we can't obviously rely on it because it's just if you guys know anything about like how AI actually works, it uses a sequence of guesses, and so it's very biased. So if you don't have a human actually looking at the content, you end up with something that's just very biased in a very specific direction. And so we have AI create content for us first, and then we have another person who is actually a writer, so that person could professionally do the writing without the AI, will actually look over it. So what it allows us to do is to just write content with in volume and a lot faster. And so it's not replacing our employee, it's actually complementing what they do. Now you can do it for design. I actually tried to see if we can create logos with it. It didn't look really good. So there's a lot of use cases, of course, I'm sure we can explore more of those.
Thank you. That's a good answer. So we start to see, of course, with AI is this potential, this amazing potential to create content at an amazing rate. Content that could never be made previously. You know, we see actors being resurrected from the dead. We see, you know, calculations being able to be done on games that can run at an amazing performance. An amazing wealth of content that can now be created. But with that, there's a sort of a double-edged sword, because on the one hand, if you have this sort of infinite content, it starts to challenge the purpose almost of blockchain, in that it creates this scarcity, it creates this single version of the truth through the blockchain. So do you see this power of AI as more of a threat or more of an opportunity?
So, complementary to what Ben said, I feel like AI is a tool to be used complementary to people. Because without people, AI firstly can't function, secondly it cannot be programmed. On top of that, the content that is being created needs to be fed into the AI systems. So you're looking at humans that are designing artwork through words, and AI is coming up with ideas or generative content. But at the end of the day, I strongly feel that NFTs are an investment within companies and within artists. No one's going to invest in a robot. People want to invest in personalities and ideas that they believe in. And that comes through the people that are feeding the AI bots and these AI artists.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I would say I'm genuinely terrified of a lot of content being produced on the internet. So I'm that kind of person when, you know, if I want to search something, I need to get to the bottom of the Google, like the last page of the Google about some specific content. And so the concept of having so many people using AI and just at volume producing content that's technically not even produced by them, it's actually produced by some robot, it's terrifying. And also, I would say, even when it comes to NFTs, you know, sometime last year, I want to say maybe June of last year, we had about 500 NFTs entering the market every day, and then people didn't like it. So now when I guess AIs is even more prevalent, it's going to be even worse. And so it just reduces the quality by which people enter the market. So that's not something I'm looking forward to, but it certainly is good in a sense that, let's say, a developer or some team that doesn't have the ability to create art at will or pay for it, now with AI, they can actually create it possibly at a really, really good quality. So just like it was mentioned by a moderator, it's a double-edged sword, and I'm more so on the side of being terrified by it. It's just crazy.
I'm quite bullish on it. I think what it's doing for the space, for the industry, is really good. I mean, our graphic designers have used it to better their designs. Our writers, as you mentioned, have used it as well. Content creators, I mean, I use it for my personal social media, and it's helped me a lot.
Well, so here's what I was saying to that. So we have a lot of people who don't manage their own social media, right? So for example, I can speak for myself in that case, right? So I don't manage my social media because I don't have time for it. Someone else has to figure out how I speak and then write for me on social media. Now, we're going to have that person use AI, so just the separation from the source of knowledge to actual presence on social media is just getting further and further, to the point where it's probably going to be an AI reading what AI is writing, so then what's the point of just doing all this work? So that's the direction that I'm not really excited about, but I see the point, right? So there's obviously we want to advance with the technology. So with there's a specific example of that. There's this project. They didn't have the, I guess, resources to produce art with an artist, so they went in and in 3 days they created 40,000 NFTs with AI. And it was just so simple, so cost effective, didn't even cost them anything. So that's good because now they're empowered to actually launch the collection, but that's also not good because some artist in somewhere that's not known by people is just working their ass off, and then no one else is going to know about them because these guys with their AI, they're already out there launching their collection.
Thank you both. So, I think one of the interesting things that comes out, especially with AI, is you were hearing some of these stories where using something like ChatGPT, you can create articles or posts that basically sound as credible as scientific articles or papers written by professors, but that could be selling something that's completely absurd. And so, in this sort of post-truth world, where it becomes more difficult to differentiate between truth and fiction, blockchain for me sort of emerges as sort of an answer to that, because in a way it allows you to check that provenance of where is this information coming from, who's really behind it. Is it just coming up out of nowhere, even though it sounds credible, it's complete nonsense, or is it actually provable throughout this chain of history and publications? Do you see kind of an industry emerging around that, this single version of the truth, and being able to anchor people to what they really believe in?
Yeah, so I certainly believe, so what I'm bullish about is certainly just the use of NFTs in this case. So it would be essentially using NFTs as time stamping who created what, at what time, and who sold it to who bought it from whom. And so from that space, you can use the NFTs to certify who has the ownership of what, right? So that's really cool. And I don't know any other technology. You can use barcode, for example, right? So a lot of people talk about how, like, what's the point of having NFTs for, let's say, tickets when you can just use barcodes? And there's obviously a lot of reasons for like counterfeit tickets and a lot of other use cases as well. But in this very specific example you mentioned, the authenticity, there's no other way you can actually do that other than blockchain. So it's really cool to be able to actually do that and give peace to people to know what's, like, who they actually looking at things. On YouTube, I believe they're actually looking into producing new programs to be able to figure out who's the actual expert versus just a robot creating things. So there are influencers that are AI, like there are AI influencers that are producing content that make more money than real humans. And so people need to know what the difference is, right? So there is actually investment on YouTube to actually create programs to be able to do that, to tell who the expert is.
Yeah, and to add on to what Ben said, there are also programs that stop plagiarism in universities, because obviously for teachers and professors, ChatGPT it can kind of be a nightmare. So we are seeing tools being developed already. We are seeing these little companies pop up that are solving this problem of reliability within AI systems. I don't know if you read this article, but Microsoft, when they were testing their AI bot, they put it on Twitter, and they started using Twitter to train the bot. Now, obviously, when you put something like that on Twitter, you get a lot of trolls. So the bot was trained to be really racist. So I think it's also the responsibility of the developer of the AI systems to come up with these solutions to avoid these problems from happening.
Yes, indeed. Thank you. So I'm a gamer, and I'm not afraid to admit it. And one of the things that excites me a lot about what AI can do is it's how it can provide tools that can help, like you say, we talked about earlier, how can help tools that can really accelerate the creation of great content, right? As in, previously, if I need to model, for example, Nish as a character, as an avatar in a 3D world, it would take a team of 3D modelers, hundreds of man-hours to get a high level of fidelity. But in the near future, just a few pictures fed to an AI, and it can probably create a very realistic digital version. So I suspect one of the very interesting, exciting things we're going to see is this, especially in the metaverse type projects of Web3, is this revival of lots of contents, stories, sceneries, avatars, creators, a huge wealth of really interesting worlds we're going to be able to now build thanks to this AI. So do you guys see potential areas where this can lead to very exciting things for you guys?
Yeah, I am really excited by this question. So as I mentioned earlier, we get on call with a couple dozen clients every week. Our team alone every day. And we have seen so many metaverse builders come up and they use AI. One of our clients, they actually are integrating an AI tool to build a metaverse within minutes. So the AI tool actually does the coding. And this is what I was referring to when I said that AI can be used in the metaverse because it can build characters, it can build, non-playable players that will, fill in and add value to the metaverse. For example, with Facebook's Meta, they had a problem of getting users into the metaverse because it was always empty. Now, in order to solve this, it was like a chicken and egg situation. You cannot bring users in because your metaverse is empty. The metaverse is empty because you cannot get users in. So as you use AI as an alternative to build in more players, NPCs within your ecosystem, make it a bit more fun and engaging, it can really help metaverses grow on that front. Aside from the coding, aside from the AI facial character building, all of that, there's so many other use cases to AI in the metaverse.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. There's definitely the simplicity by which you can create things in the metaverse, and that metaverse is just so unlimited. So AI is just a natural fit.
The last question I know is gonna be one that you potentially feel strongly about, because as an AI doubter, or not doubter, but I can see as someone ready to look at the worst side of AI. I'm sure you have very strong opinions about this, but taking that idea further of, we're now able to create, great content in this metaverse, it's also inevitable that at some point you're going to start seeing it kind of in the same way as you have a lot of bots on Twitter. You're going to end up with a lot of AI bots that are basically almost indistinguishable from other players, because they're NPCs that have great language skills, and they have personalities, and they can talk like your buddy, and they can play quests, and they can play other games with you. But you could be playing with other players and never know that they're actually all just AI bots. Do you think that has the potential to be good for the world of Metaverse, or potentially a threat that could kill it and make it unplayable to everybody?
Can you repeat your question to the last part? What did you say could be good with that?
Sorry?
So can you repeat the last part of your question?
So do you think that this almost inevitable growth in bots in the metaverse, which will be indistinguishable from other players, do you think that's potentially a good thing, or also potentially a threat that could really happen?
So as in the characters in the metaverse, if they're done by AI, you ask me if it's a good thing or bad thing?
I think it's more of a reference to the part that I said of you can build your metaverse and fill it with NPCs to begin with, and then slowly at least make it fun and engaging so that your users come in. But his question is, do you feel like that's going to hamper the metaverse experience?
Maybe you go first. I want to think about it.
Okay, so I feel like you can take the bots out. I mean, it depends on how many users you have at a time. So you can actually program it to say, well, if I have, did you ever play PUBG? The mobile shooting game? So you would have a few NPCs just kind of roaming around, but each game would have 100 players in it. Now, you would either have 99 real players with one NPC, or 50 real players with 50 NPCs. So I feel like that's kind of a system that you can use within the metaverse as well. I don't feel like we should bound ourselves towards these hard and fast rules of, it's going to fill my ecosystem with bots, because AI is kind of fun right now, and that's the whole experience of it, is adding value towards the users that are coming in, but also being able to add and remove as your ecosystem grows.
Okay, I have something to say to that. So one of the projects I'm working with is a skill-based driving game, and if you played really well, you'll be very skilled, and then you'll be able to earn crypto. Now, if you bring AI and you have players that just gonna compete with you and do better than you, then you do, lose that chance of actually being able to compete, and also for that player not being able to win is not fun, right? So the fun gets taken out of the game. So it's going to come down to how we limit the AI inside the game, so that it's, and this is a specific context of the game, by the way, or like metaverse as well in some sense, so that it still has those inherently valuable, I guess, things that attracts the users. So like in that specific example for the game, people need to still win every now and then to have fun. And if there's never going to be as good as an AI, then that's no good. And if also they can use AI to win, then that's just cheating the system, right? So those are things that it's just going to come down to the economy of the game on how it's going to be managed by humans.
Okay, very interesting answers from both of you, and I look forward to debating further more philosophical discussions about AI and the metaverse. Thank you very much, both of you. Thank you to our audience who stayed despite the hour growing late. Thank you to the organization.
Thank you.
Thank you.